This is St. Louis Cardinals baseball. It's spring training 2020 and it rolls on from Jupiter, Florida and Roger Dean Stadium. It's the St. Louis Cardinals and the Washington Nationals. And welcome to Cardinals baseball on a beautiful day this Saturday afternoon here in Florida. That's recording. I'm Dan McLaughlin. Delighted to have you with us here on Fox Sports Midwest. Carlos Martinez trying to get back in the rotation, and it's another tune-up for him today.
He may get stretched out a bit here this afternoon. It's a cool day Florida-wise, and the wind's blowing out to right field, so they'll have to contend with that. But you look at the splits of Carlos Martinez as a starter and as a reliever, remarkably similar, almost the same numbers. He, of course, wants to start. He's getting what he wants here today.
One of the storylines of this camp here for the St. Louis Cardinals, the outfield spot, and Dylan Carlson is making a name for himself.
He has the highest OPS of any Cardinal offensively so far this spring. He has 5 hits. He's also played outstanding defense in the outfield, so his stock continues to rise. It's not if, it's when we'll see him in St. Louis.
Many of the regulars are in the lineup today for Mike Shildt and the St. Louis Cardinals. A beautiful afternoon here in Florida. It's the world champion Nationals in town to take on the St. Louis Cardinals. Baseball is next. Long season and figuring out who will be on the Cardinals roster for opening day. Also, it's a chance for veterans to reestablish themselves in familiar roles. Carlos Martinez is trying to do just that with a move back into the rotation. There's a battle in the outfield and the competition is starting to heat up. Dylan Carlson is off to a fabulous start, both at the plate and in the field. In a little over a month, Mike Shildt and his staff have to figure out who goes north with the club. There are questions to be answered, and each day in Florida provides some answers. Spring training continues on your home for Cardinals baseball, Fox Sports Midwest. Wind is blowing out to right and in a big-time way. Get one up in the air, and you may see some homers here at Roger Dean Stadium in Jupiter, Florida. You saw the lineups. Many regulars are in there for both squads. There's Dave Martinez, won the World Series last year. His record in 2 seasons as the manager of the Nationals. And for the St. Louis Cardinals, it's Mike Shildt, the reigning manager of the year in the National League. This wind can play tricks on outfielders, and it can be a haven of home runs when it's blowing out.
Well, several games that we've done so far, the wind has been blowing out to left, but with it blowing out to right, and I would say a 2-club wind here this afternoon. So be careful keeping the ball down in the zone, which of course is what Carlos Martinez tries to do anyway. But the real chore is not for the pitcher, it's for the outfielders that have to contend with it.
Carlos Martinez against the Nationals. It'll be Tsunami's first start of spring, his second appearance. Pitched an inning and a third relief, and that was last Sunday at Port St. Lucie against the New York Mets. And his numbers a season ago, he is trying to take himself from being the closer back into the Cardinal rotation.
Well, I think it was an idea at one point this winter, an idea really that kind of began with him because he feels that he's better suited to be a starter, and I think you could make that argument because of all the pitches that he throws. And yet, I think you look at what's happened here this spring with Miles Mikolas being slowed down. He's going to probably start throwing, by the way. Mikolas will in a week or so. But if you're just throwing in a week or so, you're not going to be ready for opening day. So that spot is certainly open. Of course, Michael Wacha is with the New York Mets.
Adam Eaton to lead it off for the Nationals. He's got a home run. He's driven in 1 run thus far this spring. And the first pitch swung on and missed, and we are underway. Eaton at the top, then Zimmerman and Soto. We had a home run here 3 days ago. Then Suzuki, Hernandez, Kieboom, Stevenson, Defoe, Sanchez. DH being used in both lineups. That's popped foul and out of play. They'll eliminate the DH probably around March 15th in that area, and the pitchers start to hit for themselves to get geared up for, in the Cardinals' case, the 26th of March, which will be the opener in Cincinnati.
So early, isn't it?
Man.
We mentioned, Dan, in our last broadcast that the 3-batter minimum rule will begin on the 12th of March. So that's something there's been a lot of talk about. There was more clarification about the rule that went from Joe Torre to the Cardinals staff. Really, they're going around all of baseball making sure everybody gets the rule, how it's going to be used, and how it's going to be umpired.
Good start for Carlos Martinez. Caught looking at him eating, and there's one away.
Sinking fastball comes back over the heart of the plate. Caught the top of the zone, too. Not normally where you'd have Carlos centered, but that late movement, that's really what sets him apart. Seems to me like he's even simplified his delivery more this year than a season ago. There's very few moving parts in the delivery of Carlos Martinez.
Ryan Zimmerman doesn't play a lot in spring, just trying to keep his body healthy. Gas in the tank, if you will. And he's back for another go-around, the face of the franchise for the Nats.
The entire Nationals team has that issue of trying to figure out how to get guys ready for opening day after having played an extra month last year.
And a high fly ball lifted out to deep left field. Ravello back, Wynn knocking that down and caught on the edge of the track for out number 2. Ravello in left, Carlson in center, Fowler is in right. Tommy Edman, the start at third base. Paul DeYoung at short. Colton Wong, the Gold Glover, at second. John Nagowski, good camp so far. He's at first and getting more playing time because of it. Matt Wieters, the former Nat, is behind the plate. I was thinking about players, Ricky, this morning that I will stop. And I mean stop.
This guy's one of them.
And he is one of them.
I agree.
You know, I want to watch this young man hit. He's only 21. He had a couple of really impressive at-bats the other day, including that 3-run homer opposite field. He's just a fun player to watch.
And what you'll see from Soto, and we were told this about him before we even saw him play, is he's going to try to do damage the first couple of strikes. But if you get into the 2-strike count, he will shorten up. He will go the other way. He will try to hit the ball hard somewhere, but with a shorter stroke. And that, to me, is a kind of a veteran move for a guy that's very, very young still.
1 ball, 1 strike. Juan Soto. 34 homers, drove in 110 a year ago. In the World Series, he had 3 home runs, batted .333. And those are the numbers from a season ago. The 2-1 pitch. Well, there's that late movement, Ricky. Sharp.
Have to get strikes inside against left-handers. Establish both sides of the plate. You'll hear pitchers talking about that in spring training as one of their objectives.
The 2-2. Taken high. Talking with Carlos the other day, and I said, how was your off season? How was your health? He said, I'm in great shape. And he does. He looks, I mean, you see it physically. He's in very good shape.
He is.
He spent about a month here in Florida. The rest of the time was in the Dominican getting ready for the season.
I don't know if you follow Carlos on Instagram, but he had several of his workouts that he would post on Instagram, and they look like tough deals. I mean, he was really working to get some upper body strength to be ready for this year, so he's not going to break down. And you look at Carlos's splits last year, starter reliever. We talked about career-wise being pretty well the same, but this is 2018. 3.41 ERA as a starter. He's been a winner, too. He's found ways to win games.
So the 2-out walk to Soto, and now Kurt Suzuki. He, along with Yan Gomes, the catchers for Washington. That's up and in. I asked Carlos, I said, how hurt were you last year? And what kind of pain were you pitching through in the second half? And he said, pretty good amount. But I know my team needed me, so had to be out there. But he feels 100% now.
He's determined.
Yes.
I think that's the word. If you look, you just see it on his face. I saw Carlos, Dan, had some time with him during the fantasy camp. He was here in Florida around that time, which was late January, and he just finished a workout. He had his shirt off, and he had this, I mean, he was sweating like crazy. You could tell that he was really buff. And he came up and he gave me a hug
Ooh.
Right after his
Sweaty.
workout. And so when I tell you that he's been working out, I really felt it.
You really know.
I felt it.
Yeah, literally. You
experienced
felt
it.
Yeah.
I was happy to get the hug. It was okay.
That's fouled back. The great Tom Mee is back for another year of directing St. Louis Cardinals baseball.
And who's he?
Well, he's been our director for over 3 decades.
Huh. Probably should meet him.
Well, you'll know when he's here because his presence certainly is felt.
Tom Mee, you say?
That's correct. One of the outstanding directors in sports. I had the privilege and pleasure of working with Tom on St. Louis University basketball. And it was an experience. Alan Stout is our producer today. He produces many of our pre- and post-game shows for hockey and basketball and baseball throughout the year.
As we always say, Dan, it's a team effort.
It is a team effort. 1 ball and 2 strikes. And that's chopped foul. There's a great video, by the way, posted, I believe, on Fox Sports Midwest Twitter account. The Blues had a game-winning goal, and they had a TV with all the monitors, obviously, but the camera was in the truck, and it showed how the guys and gals cut the game for the viewer at home, and it is fascinating for those that want to see how it's done and the job that they do. It's really cool. Here's a 1-2 pitch.
You know, someone, Dan, should write a book about how to cut the game.
Well, Tom Mee did that too. Yeah.
He did?
Yeah, he did, and that's happy to plug that book.
Cutting the game.
That's right.
He was handing out autographed copies of that this winter in a place.
I never got mine.
We can find one for you.
Okay. 2-2 the count on Kurt Suzuki. Fouled back. Mentioned defensively, in center field, it's Dylan Carlson, and we have seen him make 2 really good plays in right. One was a diving catch. The other one, a catch up against the wall. He can play left field, and today he's in center, and that's his versatility, and he's a switch hitter.
And probably most comfortable at this point in center field, but I don't really see him looking awkward anywhere.
Agreed. Looks the part, doesn't he?
Sure does.
And the 2-2 pitch by Martinez to Suzuki. Count runs full. Soto off with the next pitch with 2 outs. Pitch count already at 20 in this first inning for Carlos Martinez. And John Nagowski, the first baseman, will play behind the runner here. Cardinals have already tabbed Jack Flaherty as the opening day starter on the 26th in Cincinnati. It'll be his first opening day assignment. Miles Michaelis drew opening day last year in Milwaukee. Got underneath it. And another walk. Back-to-back walks.
You mentioned the simplified mechanics of Carlos Martinez, and one of the things you're trying to do is to get everything in sequence. Upper body, lower body, your turn, your finish, and he is a little late right now, and that's what makes him be underneath the ball. The bottom half, even though he's going slow, he is so quick in terms of his athleticism that he's jumping a little bit to the plate, and the bottom half is just going out too fast, and the arm is dragging just a tad. I mean, it's not a big difference, and certainly that's what pitchers have to do, make those kinds of adjustments to get it back, and there he goes.
Yadiel Hernandez, the DH today. Cardinals with no Matt Carpenter, Ricky, in the lineup, and he's been dealing with a sore back.
And the expectation is, and it's been very kind of just being overly cautious, I think, and Matt is, the team is, but the expectations are that Matt will play tomorrow.
Here's a 1-0. Good fastball, and we'll be in Houston tomorrow. And everybody, I mean, it's a story that just will not go away, and it's the cheating scandal in the sport.
It's not going to go away.
Nope.
Not anytime soon.
Joe Torre and Major League Baseball, they were in camp here yesterday to talk about
some of the issues in the game. And one of the issues that got brought up, according to Mike Schilt, is a substance on the baseball, the rosin or, anything to help with the grip, which I found was interesting.
Well, there's always questions in baseball about what is the unwritten rules and how far can you bend them and what's actually going to get penalized and what's going to be kind of just ignored. And I think just getting clarification on things like that is good for the game.
And a strikeout of Hernandez. 2 strikeouts in the inning, couple of walks, no damage done. The Cardinals coming up in the home half of the first. Wong, Edman, Molina coming up. Carlos Martinez, pair strikeouts. The Tsunami is back. They're trying to get back in that starting rotation. Colton Wong leads it off for St. Louis, followed by Tommy Edman, Yadier Molina, the designated hitter, Paul DeYoung, Dexter Fowler, Matt Wieters, Dylan Carlson, Rangel Ravello, and John Nagowski. And the Cardinals will face a tough lefty Washington. Boy, they've got some good pitching. And here's another one, Patrick Corbin.
He's one of their big 4 starters, a 14-game winner last year. And he is a strikeout king. He has had more strikeouts in the past 2 years than any left-hander in baseball. And the second lowest ERA of any left-hander in baseball, a starter that is, over the last 2 seasons. He's just a high-quality pitcher in the Nationals. In his first year as a National, they got to celebrate with him.
Nasty slider. Good stuff. And again, it's Colton Wong at the top of the lineup. And we may see this in regular season play. You'll start to see a set lineup at the end of spring training more now. It's about just getting matchups at times or guys work. But this could be something you see in a leadoff walk for Colton Wong.
I also noticed not as much of a shift on Colton Wong by the Nationals in that first at-bat. I wonder if teams are wising up to that.
We've been saying it nonstop.
I know, since June probably, because of his ability to bunt and hit the ball the other way.
There's Tommy Edman. Cardinals last year against the Nationals in that NLCS hit 130, and it was the lowest ever in a best-of-7 by a team. They're pitching to shut down St. Louis hitting. Wong is running on the first pitch. The throw down to second is in time. They got him. No argument from Wong. Good tag. Quick tag.
I thought it was a pretty good jump too, but Suzuki got the throw right on the money and the quick tag. And that's what you got to do in spring training. You do some runs, hit and running, and he might have been safe if his arms would have gone out more extended, but they almost got caught underneath him a little bit, which slowed him down.
Here's a 1-0 Edman. Slow start this far, 0.77 here this spring. He was asked the other day, what position are you best at? And he said, I'm a ball player. Put me anywhere. I play baseball. That's what I do.
I think we would agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
I know I would. I mean, that's what he is. He can play anywhere. He's not a utility guy in that you just give him a glove and he can stand out there. He's going to play well no matter where you put him.
Hits it sharply to the shortstop today. Wilmer Defoe gets down the line quickly, but they get him by a half step. 2 away. Brings in Yadier Molina. I was talking with our colleague Tim McCarver, and I said, and this was this morning, Ricky, I said, what is it about Yadi for a guy, and Tim played in 4 different decades, his longevity at this position, Yadi, incredible longevity. I said, what is it about him that stands out from your eyes, your perspective, as he pops it up into left? And he said it's his throwing arm. Hasn't missed a beat and allows him to get in different positions and continue his career moving forward at 38. He's still amazing. No score after 1. St. Louis Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you in part by Budweiser. Wherever legendary MLB moments happen, Budweiser will be there. By Shelter Insurance. For your auto, home, and life. Wear your shield. Wear your shelter. And by your St. Louis area Volkswagen dealers. Underway here in the top of the second. First pitch to Carter Kieboom is taken for a strike. 28th overall pick in 2016. Anthony Rendon signed a massive deal with the Angels, so big spring for him and a chance to crack this lineup. And a quick pace here by Carlos, which sometimes I think dictates the way that he goes. You know how he feels or how he's going to go by his pace.
And I think that may be part of the adjustment, too, about him having a little bit of control issues in the first inning. Maybe he felt like he was just being a little bit too deliberate between pitches, although he's down in the count here as well, even with that quick pace. And you're always searching for, Dan, rhythm and pace, and it's a feel thing. Somebody can see it from the outside, but you've got to feel it, and you've got to kind of work through that in spring training to get in that pace that works for you.
And that'll be his third walk. He had 25 pitches in the first inning to go along with a pair of strikeouts. Andrew Stevenson, the batter. Leadoff walk to Kieboom. There's Mike Maddox, the Cardinal pitching coach, and he's got a lot of talent on this staff. A lot.
And he's got a lot of bodies to have to deal with right now in spring training. The Cardinals have 71 players on their roster, 40 roster players and 31 non-roster players, and that's a lot of people to try to get work. And a lot of them are pitchers.
30 plus, I believe, are pitchers. So where do they get the work? There's simulated games in the back. There are split squads, a lot of them this year. But you can't be everywhere at once.
And think about this. If you're a minor league pitcher and you're getting a chance to come to big league camp, you want to see and talk to Mike Maddox. And, of course, Brian Eversgerd, the bullpen coach. You want to see the big league guys, and you want to impress them. And you want to kind of pick their brain. What do you see? What do I need to get? So that's a lot of bullpens to watch over the course of a week. Very quick tag at first by Nagowski.
It was a nice pick by Wieters, 2 and a ball in the dirt to make that close. It's 1 ball, 1 strike. Matt Wieters signed late in the offseason, returning to St. Louis. And it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. Cardinals in Houston tomorrow. Reliever ERA in 2019, third best in the National League. And how about that? 9 different pitchers with at least 1 save, and you may have that again this year.
I think the game's going to go that way. It already is, but I think the game is going to go to having multiple people that could close games. I actually think that that's going to suit the new rule, Dan, of having to face 3 batters. I think, you don't want to typecast a guy as your one closer. And I just think it limits kind of how your bullpen can evolve over time. And so I just think that's going to be what teams are looking for. The young, strong arm, give him the 9th. Let him go.
Mike Schilt was saying that strategy with the 3-batter minimum plays into strategy with maybe a closer earlier in the game. So multiple guys finishing games off. Lined and a double play. Paul DeYoung, the soft hands up the middle. The Cardinal defense was such a story last year in terms of being one of the best defensive teams in all of baseball. Cardinals went from leading the majors in errors with 133 to committing the fewest, just 66 last year. And that combination up the middle, DeYoung and Wong, awfully good. Got it on the short hop and made it a double play. Wilmer Defoe. Two outs and the 1-0 pitch. Out to center, backing up Dylan Carlson. He's under it and makes the catch. Cardinals have DeYoung, Fowler, and Wieters coming up. Midway through 2, no score. 20 season is packed with great promotions, and they feature replica jerseys, Paul Goldschmidt jerseys, an adult 1944 jersey, Players Weekend alumni jersey, and more. Get them as a pack, individual seats. Carlos Martinez has a jersey. Everybody's got a jersey. Cardinals.com. Rick Horton will have a jersey for Alumni Weekend. That's going to be fun. That's new to this.
I'm looking forward to that
this season. As DeYoung sends a fly ball into right, this could be trouble. Eaton going back at the wall, carries out of here.
Oh my goodness.
DeYoung with his second home run this spring, got it into the wind and got it out of here.
Well, I said it was a 2-club win, and it might be a 3-club win.
I'm leaning 3.
Yeah, I think that's just a 52 degree right there, just a little wedge. And now he does get it on the fat part of the bat, so he may have generated enough power just by that. And to go deep the other way, really no doubter about 365. I don't think that's the last home run we're going to see to right today.
And Fowler hits one down the right field line. And that carries out of here.
Yes, it does.
Oh, man. Paul DeYoung last year among shortstops, 30 home runs. 5th in runs batted in, 3rd in defensive run saves. Saved, and then a very nice WAR that he put together, too. Wins above replacement as Fowler grounds it to short. And that is out number 1 here in the bottom of the 2nd. Matt Wieters, the batter. I think you're looking, though, for consistency out of Paul DeYoung this year. As towards the tail end, it was a rough go. Got off to a great start, and then it tailed off.
Well, you know, he didn't get a chance to rest very much, and a player never wants that. Now, and all the metrics, and they have metrics about the player's health, his strength, and, you know, is he sleeping enough, and is he eating right, and all that. And he passed all those tests. But mentally, I still wonder about the fatigue that happens mentally for a player that plays every day and doesn't get enough time off. The Cardinals did not have depth and shortstop position last year to be able to spell him often enough, and I think they're going to try to change that.
Wieters trying to beat it out, and he is out. And the shift on for Matt Wieters, and he almost beat it out.
Well, there are times you'd say in football or basketball that play took a long time to develop. You might say that about that particular play. He did have the right idea. There's a big hole on the right side. He just didn't hit it hard enough. And pretty nifty play in the bare hand to get him by a half step. Or did they?
Not so sure. Here's Dylan Carlson. 455. The average here in spring. No home runs. He's driven in 1. Switch hitter. Up and in again. 2 balls and no strikes. Lane Thomas, Tyler O'Neill, Dylan Carlson. Who gets left? Maybe center. Bader needs to have a good camp as well.
Austin Dean, Justin Williams, Rangel Ravelo. I would not dismiss any of those names either.
And the 2-1 pitch now to Dylan Carlson. Off speed in the dirt. Ravelo is on deck. There's a very quiet confidence in this young man who has come into camp in really good shape. Put on some weight. Good weight. Strong. Can run. And draws a walk. DeYoung with a home run to make it 1-0 moments ago here in the bottom of the 2nd. Rangel Ravelo, 333, no home runs, 1 RBI. We've seen him at first, and we've seen him play left. I'd liken his role to that of Jose Martinez, who's now with Tampa Bay.
And that's what we said last broadcast. That he's really the Jose Martinez without the dancing.
And that may come. You never know.
Maybe. I haven't asked him. Well, he's got the study under him a bit last year.
Sure.
Maybe got the moves down.
I will miss that aspect of what Jose Martinez brought to the club.
Totally agree with you.
Keeps things light, fun. You got to have those guys.
A delight to be around.
Ravello puts it in play, slowly hit up the third base line and foul.
Well, we wish Jose the best, and I think it's been true over the years with Cardinal fans, and I think it's one of the reasons we like to talk about, how is this player doing on that how's Tommy Pham doing? How is Jose Martinez doing? I think Cardinal fans, once you're attached to a guy, he's still a guy you're attached to, and
sure.
so you don't wish him well when you're playing against him, but overall you want to see his career flourish.
Inside, Randy Arozarena, no longer a member of the Cardinals. Adolis Garcia.
Michael Wacha. How can you not root for Michael Wacha to be the 5th guy in the rotation for the Mets? There's a little bit of a battle that's going to go on there. But I'm rooting for Wacha for sure.
Help the Cardinals get to a World Series, the NLCS MVP. Ravello gets it in the air. This will carry to right. Adam Eaton under it and makes the catch. Paul DeJong is hitting above 600 this spring. And his second home run this week. One swing, 1-0. Aspect of spring training, Paul DeJong with the Wizard, Ozzie Smith.
Taking ground balls with the best defensive player ever. Paul DeJong had a pretty good season a year ago himself. Cardinals with several players that were in the finalist position as far as Gold Gloves are concerned. I think DeJong was helped out a lot by Goldschmidt, the first baseman, but Paul's work paid off as well. 14 defensive runs saved a season ago. And with Colton Wong winning a Gold Glove, Goldschmidt being a finalist, the Cardinals defense was outstanding in 2019.
Adrian Sanchez at the plate. Ozzie was trying to get DeJong moving in on the ball a little bit more, and how he would come in and walk into a pitch and on the balls of your feet. We've seen a couple of plays already in spring with him ranging to his left.
Don't you like it when a good player wants to get better?
Yeah. There's a fly ball out to left field. Ravello with the catch.
And speaking of getting better, the Cardinals defense was obviously imperative last year that they switch what happened in 2018. They had the best outs above average among infielders, and that means, it's not an exact number that says how many specific outs above average, but it's really a correlation to the rest of the league, and they were the best in all of baseball. And they were minus 18 the year before, so that change from last in the league to best in all of baseball is out of intentional work, number one, and it's also getting a first baseman that is a perennial Gold Glove candidate in Goldschmidt.
Top of the lineup, Adam Eaton. Well, to put in perspective what they did last year, only the 1935 Chicago White Sox, who had made the second fewest errors in 1 year after committing the most. So you don't see that kind of turnaround every day, and it was an incredible turnaround defensively for St. Louis. The Cardinals now have 89 Gold Glove winners. Ozzie with 13 of those. No franchise has won more. Yadier Molina with 9, and Colton Wong with his first.
And how about all the nominees last year? Not just the Gold Glove winner in Colton Wong, but several finalists as well. And you're going to have a finalist behind the plate in Yadier Molina.
14 defensive runs saved in 2019 for Colton Wong. There's a strike, 3-2. This is where you start to see the pitchers go a little bit deeper. First
Right.
go around, it's 2 innings or 35 pitches, and now it's Martinez in his third inning of work, and he picks up his third strikeout. Comes back to get Adam Eaton.
Even with the control issues that Carlos has had so far in this game, I think his stuff's been really good. I think the fastball is popping, and gets him with a breaking ball there, which has certainly been a money pitch for him. He's got great movement on both those pitches, the sinking fastball and the sharp slider. And he's going to use his changeup more as a starter than he did out of the bullpen. He's feeling it now.
Ryan Zimmerman 0 for 1, a fly to left. See Wieters shaking his head and nodding in approval, like that pitch.
That is part of what a catcher does to make sure you're getting the right feedback.
Cardinals were thrilled with how Wieters performed in that backup role. I mean, he had 11 home runs. You like that,
right?
But even more importantly, as a backup, how you handle the staff, how you work with your pitchers. They thought he was great. The 2-1. 2-2.
That is a dynamite slider.
He's starting to feel it, like you
yeah.
said. Yep, you can see it. And the 2-2 pitch by Martinez. He got him. Back-to-back strikeouts for this afternoon for Carlos. Nagowski, Wong, and Edman coming up for strikeouts this afternoon for Carlos Martinez. Fetty and his numbers from a year ago. He was considered a top prospect. 2014, Nationals selected him in the first round, 18th overall. He does have some big league experience. He's got good stuff.
Yeah, we've seen him
keep it all together.
He is. We've seen him in spring training. I think there's a question about whether or not he's a starter or reliever. He did a little bit of both for the Nats last year. 12 starts, 9 relief appearances, and of course he's got a ring. I guess they don't have their rings yet. They'll get their rings, I assume, on opening day. But that's something that every player wants to have, that experience, Dan, of having a ring. And I know there's some Cardinal players that haven't had that experience yet and would love to have that in their future.
Back to Fetty off the bat of Nagowski. Andre into first for the out. That has been part of the frustration from the Nationals' perspective of the Houston cheating scandal, is that they are being overshadowed by that. And here they are, the reigning world champs, and some of them, you know, have been pretty vocal about it. They're frustrated. And I get it.
It's their day in the sun.
Yeah,
and it's got some clouds over it. I think that's a fair statement. And they were very vocal about it when they opened camp right away, when all of the reporters went over to the Astros side, as they share a complex, as the Cardinals do with the Marlins here in Roger Dean Chevrolet Stadium. So I think the Nats did feel a little dissed by that.
Here's the 0-1 to Colton Wong. Wong walked and then was caught stealing. There's Dave Martinez, 10 years with Joe Madden, bench coach. And they got off to a terrible start last year. They were 19-31, and some thought he may get fired. Well, didn't get fired, and then he wins the whole deal. And Joe Madden no longer with the Chicago Cubs. He is with the Angels. And the 1-2 pitch.
Still not sure the Angels have enough pitching, but they're going to have a very good lineup.
Anytime you put Mike Trout in a lineup, you're
already pretty good. Right.
Now you got Rendon, Albert Pujols. Here's a 1-2. 2-2. You're talking about the attention being, you know, put on the Astros. They have down here basically like a full media day. Managers go, and it's at a hotel, and then the commissioner does his State of the Union, if you will, of the league. And there was a shot, as they got a shift on, of Colton Wong, but there was a shot of just Mike Shildt at his table with no one around him. And here he is, the reigning manager of the year.
Right.
Everybody was talking to Houston. There's a ground ball and a fair ball.
Did that go off his foot or not?
I think Wong wanted to sell it, then didn't. I'm not sure.
And again, no replay. He may have just stumbled out of the box. Here's the swing. Yeah, no, it didn't hit him on the foot. Oh, there he did. He slipped on the plate. Well, I think Mike Shildt is okay with not getting too much attention for being the manager of the year. If I know Mike Shildt,
and we do,
he is just fine being under the radar.
And he's also the first to say, look, I get the award, However, it's my lieutenants that are putting in as much work as I am, so I look at this as a team accomplishment, which you appreciate.
And he's not just kind of saying the appropriate thing to say and kind of blowing smoke there. He really does appreciate Ollie Marmol, his bench coach, and those two guys go way back in terms of the Cardinals minor league system. And of course, he's smart enough to rely on the experience of Mike Maddox, a pitching coach, and really all of his coaches. He trusts them. I mean, there's no ego with him, really. I mean, there's competitiveness with him, and that's what we always say about Mike. Danny, we've said this several times. Don't confuse meekness with weakness. We're not saying he's weak or not responsible, but he is giving the appropriate amount of responsibility to his coaches. Really, that's the only way it works.
That's tapped foul. You know, part of we talk about the 3-batter minimum. I think on the flip side, if you're a switch hitter, how valuable is your spot now?
Yeah.
Matchups late. Think about those kind of things. Dylan Carlson, Tommy Edman, those guys.
I think it creates value for sure.
Edman tardy with that swing and a strikeout. For Carlos Martinez, second appearance overall, 3 innings today. No hits, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts.
Well, the command was off a bit in the early going, but he started to feel it. He was pounding the strike zone. You could just see it in his demeanor that he had a sense that no one was going to hit him. And that's what you want Carlos to get to. When he came off the mound, Dan, we saw him coming off the mound, just kind of looked heavenward as he always does. But he just had this sense of, that's me. You could just see it on his chest that I am right where I want to be right now, and a good outing for Carlos. And we'll see if the no-hitter can stay intact. Is it too early for me to say that?
No, sir. Let it rip. You're in mid-season form.
You know, I never say that. Tim does. Tim's belief is it's okay to say there's a no-hitter going. I prefer to say there's a special game going.
I kind of have fun with it.
Of course.
Sometimes I might slip it in there or take a hard look at the line score. So then if it does not happen, I don't get blamed for it. I don't need any more problems.
Yeah, but you can handle them.
Tyler Webb, the new pitcher. It's interesting. I mean, you've got Genesis Cabrera, Andrew Miller, Brett Cecil, KK, and now Tyler Webb. A lot of lefties to choose from. Good pitch to Soto. Walked his first time up. 2-2 the count. Breezy afternoon here at the ballpark.
And not only those lefties to choose from in the bullpen, but if Kim becomes a starter, you have them there, and you also have Austin Gomber to think about as in the starting role. So I think things are looking up from the left side in the Cardinals organization.
Cardinals are really excited with what they've seen in camp from a healthy Austin Gomber. I meant to put him on that list. Yeah,
he really looks good.
He'll go tomorrow. We'll be in Houston for that.
There's the horde of pitchers in the bullpen just waiting for the phone to ring for them.
Popped up. Nagowski, good glove man in foul territory, over and makes the catch.
We'll give you another shot. Let's see if we can get another shot of the bullpen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 17, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and I may have counted wrong, but 24 bodies down there. Now there's some bullpen catchers. There's several of them, and a coach or two. That's just a lot of people. The Cardinals did not have their step camp this year because of the way the minor league schedule worked out.
Fly ball off the bat of Suzuki, and that drops. And Suzuki is at first base and should be at second. Ravello, it can be a really tough sun field down here, in particular this time in the game, right before 2 o'clock for a left fielder, and then it starts to be tough for the center fielder.
Here that he saw it at one point and then lost it and couldn't find it again. And again, you've got the wind that's keeping the ball in the ballpark because that ball was hammered and the wind's blowing into that particular baseball going to the left side. So I think it knocked it down a little bit, and then when he tried to pick out where it was, he just couldn't find it. And DeYoung was hustling all the way, to try to make a play on it. I give him credit for that.
Well, we blew it again. We mentioned a no-hitter.
Oh, man.
And it's gone. Cardinals had a no-hitter going into the 7th inning the other day.
And just send your complaints to Danny Mack at Busch Stadium.
Those letters we get are awfully nice. Most of the time.
Most of them are, yes, of course.
Slicing away from Ravello, but he'll make the catch sliding on one knee.
Redemption.
Good play.
The ball finds you, doesn't it?
And you're in left-handed batter. You know it's going to slice away to the line.
That was not an easy play. I mean, it was not. Now, it was a play you could see because it wasn't high in the air, but he had to be very careful to follow that ball all the way in because of the way it was slicing.
Matter of fact, I got a note that came to the ballpark here. It's Gene and Janice Kinkelar. And their grandson was in a auto accident. And we created a video for Colin to come on down to the ballpark this summer. And I was on it, the cat, Matt Carpenter, Brett Cecil. And I got your note. Got it today. Thank you. And we're praying for your grandson and can't wait to see him at the ballpark.
Very nice.
Been through a lot.
Very nice.
Pitch taken up, 1 ball, 1 strike.
Tyler Webb's had a good spring training so far. I like the way the ball's coming out of his hand. If you are interested in a kind of just a unique follow on Instagram, I would suggest you consider TWebb38. And Tyler is a photographer, and he takes tremendous pictures and really tries to get artistic shots and does a great job. I've been following him all winter, and we chatted about it a little bit this week. I mean, it's not everybody's cup of tea. You think you're going to get baseball stuff, but you get just beautiful sunsets and the views of nature. And if that's your thing, TWebb38.
I said, why do you do it? And he said, because I'm sick of buying stupid souvenirs. He used a different word, but he said, I don't like those souvenirs anymore in the hotels, so it gets me out of my room. I explore the cities that normally I wouldn't be able to do, and this job affords me the opportunity to do that. You got to have a diversion in this game. It's so hard. Get away from the game. Good inning for Tyler Webb.
Good pitch, good finish.
Coming up, Yadier Molina leads it off. Then Paul DeYoung and Dexter Fowler. DeYoung is already homered today. St. Louis on top. Coming back from Tommy John, and the Cardinals do anticipate him at some point rejoining the club, probably late July, August, but we'll see.
He is in that tedious rehab phase right now, and he's starting to throw, or he has been throwing, but you know, it's just slow progress. And you know, spring training in general, Dan, is slow progress for pitchers because it takes a while to build up. But when you're coming back from injury, anybody who's had one knows how slow the rehab process can be, and he's feeling that on all levels right now. And you know, I know he wants to compete, but I think he has a pretty good view of it. Jordan was telling me the other day, he says, you know, really the last 5 months has flown by for me. So it's not that he's not taking advantage of the time, and not that he's like overly bored right now. So I'd say he's got a good frame of mind about his rehab.
The first pitch of this at bat, Yadier Molina, I think he was upset that the second baseman was not set, and right in the middle of the pitch coming, the second baseman was on the shortstop side of the bag and then moved, which is, you know, all of a sudden that's going to bother, without question, that's going to bother the hitter in his line of vision. And he said something to the home plate umpire right away. Right there. That's a distraction as Yadi pops it up right side near the Cardinal dugout and on top of the Cardinal dugout.
We saw some teams do that last year. And
Ben Zobrist with Chicago.
Ben Zobrist. I knew it was Chicago. I was trying to figure out who it was. And really, you're not supposed to do that. There was some conversation with the umpires with Zobrist when he was doing it. And, you know, the way I looked at his little panic there going from, he was like, I'm in the wrong spot. So I don't think there was an intentional opportunity there as far as Molina, but you still wonder what the umpire's right course of action is there.
Battling the sun and making the catch. It's Juan Soto. There's Paul DeYoung, homered to right field, first time. Second home run this spring and his 5th run batted in. Back in the 3rd, get it up in the air and get it out of here.
Almost seemed like a half swing to me, like the ball got so deep in his hitting area, but he was able to keep his hands in the right spot, drove through the ball and hit it on the sweet spot. I still thought it was an F9 when it came off the bat, but
here's the 0-1.
he has incredible power, Paul
Yes,
does.
he does.
And I think his finish has a lot to do with it. He's mechanically so sound, and I know he'd like to cut down on his strikeouts, but you're looking at the only Cardinal All-Star in 2019. You win a division, Dan, and you have one All-Star.
And I'm not sure he would have been if not for the injury to Marcell Ozuna. And this team goes to the NLCS and one All-Star. Here's the 0-2. Held on to in a strikeout.
One more look at the home run swing of Paul DeYoung. Gets a lot of power from the backside. He generates there. He doesn't overcommit forward. Again, that ball is deep on the plate, and he hits it the other way. Again, right on the screws, hands inside the ball. There's a phrase that I don't hear players use anymore, and really no player will do it. But if you look at an amateur game, most amateurs do it. They cast the bat. They're throwing their hands out too far from their body, and their hands are so far away from their body, you get jammed, you lose power, you have a hard time hitting the ball again on the screws. And it is almost the way young people are taught how to hit, Dan. Get your arms extended. Well, the extension happens after you hit it, not while you're hitting it. Boy, Lance Berkman did a great job of explaining that at our fantasy camp.
It's fun to see him back in a Cardinal uniform, visiting with the campers and doing an experience for those that, had the chance to be at different stations. Ozzie was fielding, Bruce Sutter, Jason Isringhausen. They were talking pitching. Pretty cool.
A month ago today, Lance Berkman was standing right where Dexter Fowler is right now, talking to campers. Tim McCarver and Whitey Herzog were in the third base dugout as one of the stations talking baseball stories. Bruce Sutter and Jason Isringhausen were down the right field line talking pitching. Larry Walker and Ray Langford were in center talking about outfield play, and a guy named Ozzie Smith was talking about middle infield play, particularly shortstop. And Hall of Famers everywhere. It was great. It was great. Cool. Campers loved it. All 136 of them.
2-2 the count. And Joe Pfeiffer will lead a group. Joe from our corporate sales department to Cooperstown this year. As Fowler lines it to first, and they were playing right on the line, and the catch is made. We head to inning number 5, and St. Louis on top. St. Louis Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you in part by Ford, the official car and truck of the Cardinals, and by Great Southern Bank, understanding what really matters. Ryan Helsley, the new pitcher for St. Louis. He's been stretched out here in camp as a starter, and he might just be your opening day closer. Who knows?
A lot of ways you could go with him because he's got the big arm and some experience now. He was brought to the big leagues last year in a time where they needed some help out of the bullpen, and he brought it. And he brought the fastball and the curveball, too. I like his curveball maybe as much when it's right.
Like that.
Yes.
So he was my guy last spring.
Yes, he was.
And I've got a guy this year, too. Well, I got 2.
Okay.
That maybe are not on your radar, but pay closer attention to them. Johan Oviedo, hard-throwing right-hander, adding depth to the organization. I loved what I saw the other day. And
big right-hander.
Yes, he is.
Big man.
And the other is Cody Whitley, reliever. And in my mind, he's got big league stuff. He looked good. Struck out the side the other day.
You
think about to Stevenson.
Think about the Cardinal pitchers who had a chance to pitch in the big leagues last year, and you'd say, well, you got Ponce de Leon, you've got Helsley, you've got Gallegos who got his first, and then there's somebody coming after you. Competition.
Hit left side, and tough play for DeYoung. The pick got him. He had the third baseman coming in front of you, then he double clutched, and a nice pick by Nagowski at first base. Told you, good glove man.
Well, he proved you right there for sure. Little trouble getting out of his glove for DeYoung, who's wearing, by the way, wearing number 11 this year. There's the double clutch, but still a good strong throw, and there's the pick at the other end. Nicely done.
So I mentioned I visited with Tim McCarver, and I said, well, spring training, you've been around a ton of them. I said, what comes to mind? What do you think about? He said, number one, I didn't like it because I had to catch so much, doing all the bullpens and that kind of thing. He said, but to your point about jobs, he said, you find out there's a lot of guys wanting to take your job in spring training. And
yes,
the competition is fierce.
Yeah, I think it's only gotten more so. And you know, the tricky thing for a manager and a coaching staff is to have that as a healthy competition, not as a me against you. I mean, we're us trying to make each other better. And that's the best way to be a teammate in my mind is I'm going to push you to be better. You push me to be better. And, you know, we'll both get to play somewhere. I was taught that in the minor leagues by another left-handed reliever who said those exact words to me. Said, I'm going to make you better. You make me better. And if it's just about being better than the other guy and we both stink, they'll go get somebody else.
Right. DeYoung makes that play. 2020 promotional schedule features 8 bobblehead giveaway dates, including a Hall of Fame opening day car parade bobblehead, a Whitey Herzog fishing bobblehead, and more. Tickets to 5 of these dates through the 5-game bobblehead pack, or choose your own as a single game ticket on sale now at Cardinals.com.
This is spring training, right, Dan?
Yes, sir.
So we can kind of test out some things, and it's not quite as stressful as it might be in June.
It's never stressful.
Okay, so Cardinals have a one-hitter going. We'll just test out the announcer's curse maybe a couple more times. See what happens.
To me, that doesn't count. It's got to be a no-hitter. One hitter, it's all done. So you're saying from here on out,
one-hitters are pretty good.
Well, I'm not saying I'm not going to take them.
And the Cardinals have a shutout going.
Nah, you blew it. That's the one that's going to send people over the edge.
Okay.
And I don't blame you folks.
You just wait a minute. You just told me it's spring training and we could test it out.
All complaints, just direct those to Rick Horton. Make sure it's to his attention. Find him on Twitter and voice your complaints at RickyH49. Number 5, Fetty, his 3rd inning of work after Patrick Corbin went 2. It's Wieters, Carlson, and Ravello. A Team Fredbird member, Julia Conan, is doing some pretty special things. She is running in the Olympic Trial Marathon and currently in the top 12. So congratulations and keep it going. That's awesome.
Outstanding.
And Wieters yanks it foul. Uh-oh. Beverage down.
Was that a beer we lost? I think it was. He's trying to figure out what happened. Here's the line drive.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-oh.
Wieters showing a bunt against the shift.
I I think the key on that play, Dan, is you've got to protect the women and children first, grab your beer, and duck. Those are the three things you got to do.
I think some would maybe reverse the order of the importance of what you just listed.
It's not interchangeable. No, it's the women and children first, then the beer. See, you don't have a lot of time, but come on. Oops. I'm not sure even the nice lady there in the front row was protected adequately.
Yeah. The 2-2 taken high by Matt Wieters. Hey, Blues are back. Coverage begins 6:30 tonight. They'll take on the Stars, playing very well. The defending Stanley Cup champs. 3-2 pitch. And Wieters serves it into center, but there's Stevenson for the out.
There's a nice ring to it, doesn't it? The defending
It's awesome.
Stanley Cup champs. Love it.
Sign up for the all-new Cardinals 5K presented by Fox Sports Midwest. That'll be on the 11th of April. 5K course winds through downtown St. Louis on the riverfront before finishing at Busch Stadium, and you'll have the chance to walk a victory lap around the field. All participants receive a premium quarter-zip pullover and finisher medallion. Cardinals.com/5K. Carlson out to shallow left, and that drops in. Takes a wide turn around first. He has now reached base 7 consecutive plate appearances. Another hit for Dylan Carlson.
My favorite thing about this at-bat is how he hustled out of the box. It's just a flare to left, but again, good hitters find ways to get hits, and he knows that's going to drop, and he's thinking maybe 2. They end up throwing behind him at this point. Got to scamper back. But as you mentioned, 7 straight plate appearances. Reaching base, he is, I'm not even going to say opening eyes, Dan, because I think eyes have been opened regarding him already. Maybe the eyes are open wider.
He could push his way onto this roster. Minor League Player of the Year, Dylan Carlson, switch hitter, good speed, plays all 3 outfield spots. There's a strike to Rangel Ravello. Happy 9th birthday to Nolan Meyer, watching our telecast on Fox Sports Midwest. We've got a busy day here on Fox Midwest. Baseball now, hockey later.
When you're talking about development for a guy like Dylan Carlson, if he does push his way onto the roster, it has to be to play.
Period. Slowly hit, and they'll get the sure out at first. That's Ravello. Advancing Carlson to second base.
I was thinking about it today, and I had a tweet on this, just thinking about the development process. If you're Gary LaRocque, and we've talked to him several times about the philosophy and Mo and everybody that kind of helps a baseball player get from A to Z, is if it's almost like you're cooking something, and you think, okay, it's ready. I know it'll taste good, but does it need to cook a little longer to taste better? And because you want it at its best. You don't want it good. You want it at its best. And the best for Dylan Carlson could be a perennial all-star, right? I mean, that's the upside you're hoping for. Not just a guy to be in the big leagues. So make sure he gets cooked enough so he's ready. Don't want to overcook him because he'll get stale. But that is the trick in development, is figuring out what the right timing is for somebody to have checked all the boxes, is the phrase they like to use.
Yeah, I saw your tweet, and I started thinking about Thanksgiving.
Thank you for following me.
Here's John Mozeliak, the president of baseball operations. He's in the back row of that section right behind home plate, and in front of him, scout after scout after scout. They're all here.
Saw Tim Conroy here, who's a scout with the Kansas City Royals.
Marty Meyer with Cincinnati, used to run the draft of the St. Louis Cardinals.
Both guys with Cardinals connection.
Jack McKeon is here, longtime manager of the Marlins. And at a ballpark near you, probably Ted Simmons, who's headed to Cooperstown and still scouting with the Atlanta Braves. Here's a 1-2 pitch. You know, and some people like analytics, Others do not. And Ted, to his credit, having been in the game for 50 years, great player, clearly,
right.
Ran an organization, has been a coach. You know, analytics probably got him into the Hall of Fame. Now, he had very good numbers with runs batted in and homers and doubles, the basic numbers, but analytics really helped his cause. And he did not go. And he'll tell you that, too. And he understands, to his credit, how he has developed in the game. He said, look, if you don't understand WAR, you're not going to be able to do what I do.
I agreed. Bill James is considered to be the father of sabermetrics. He was honored at the St. Louis Baseball Writers dinner, and there was conversation during that dinner about Bill James and helping to adequately describe just how good a player is, which is why Teddy's in the Hall of Fame, because of his WAR and because of his offensive impact especially. And you put his numbers up against other people and you say, hey, wait a minute, we may have missed a guy, because when Teddy first went through the voting process, he was dismissed right away. I mean, he didn't get enough votes. And
I just didn't understand
it's
that.
Stunning to think about.
Look at where he's at against Yogi Berra and Johnny Bench,
right,
who is the standard of that era. Now, I understand defensively he's not with Johnny Bench, but offensively, man, was he good. Hit hard to third and right through the third baseman. That's Keyboom, and here comes Dylan Carlson to score. And on his way to second base, John Nagowski after the error by Keyboom.
Well, that run scores because you've got a hustling Dylan Carlson and you've got an alert third base coach in Pop Warner. He's telling him to go right away. He can tell that that ball is far enough away that Carlson's going to be able to score, but Carlson has to have the want to and the ability to go along with it, and he scores standing up.
Here's Colton Wong. He is walked, caught stealing, grounded out to second. 0 for 1 today. But the numbers for Ted Simmons, there they are. Ranks among catchers all time. Second in hits, 12th in home runs, second in doubles, second in runs batted in, and his WAR 11th best.
Would you have been upset or surprised if Ted Simmons and Larry Walker both said, you know, I just got elected into the Hall of Fame. I think I need to take care of a lot of things. I probably can't be at the fantasy camp this year. Would that have bothered you?
Well, me being at the camp, personally and selfishly, yes. However,
would you have understood it?
I would have understood.
That's what I meant to say.
Yes.
Yeah, and yet they were both there. In fact, Larry Walker got off the plane and came to the ballpark.
It was unbelievable.
From being in New York. I mean, it's just incredible that these guys wanted to be around their Cardinal family. And you look at the numbers for Larry Walker, certainly well worth the wait. Big, huge numbers. He had to overcome a thought, and there he is with his 72.7 WAR, which is fourth among right fielders in history. But he had to overcome, well, those numbers are inflated because it's Colorado.
Larry Walker was almost a Texas Ranger instead of being a St. Louis Cardinal. So the organization, the Rockies, went to Larry and said, okay, we got a deal, Texas. And his agent said to him, I was talking to him at camp about this, and he said, I think this is a good spot for you. And he said, is this something not right? I don't know. I think it could be a good spot, but I'm not going to do it. And the Cardinals popped up, and he had 48 hours to decide. He said, I took the full 2 days. Cardinals popped up. Took him 2 seconds. He said,
I'm in.
I'm in.
Glad he
Pitching
was.
change coming up for Washington. Cardinals Hall of Fame. Online voting begins tomorrow. Carlton, Hernandez, Herr, Morris, Renteria, Lee Smith, John Tudor. Good luck.
You know, I had a pretty good idea when I first heard the group because there's a couple of guys I have great affinity for. But the more I look at all of the names there, Dan, I mean, it's hard not to stuff the ballot box and vote for every one of them. I mean, they're all deserving, certainly. And it kind of depends on what you weigh more heavily. Is it length with the team? Is it special performance in a particular year? I mean, it's all part of it, and that's where the beauty of the voting is.
Base hit into right field for Tommy Edman. The wave in the runner home. The throw to the plate, not in time. Tommy Edman picks up a run batted in. That makes it 3-0 Cardinals. Tommy Edman, his first RBI of spring.
Well, this is the Tommy Edman we saw last spring and all last year. Line drives everywhere. Just kept his hands back, and that's the classic Tommy Edman swing from the left side. Sinking line drive, picks up the RBI. Nagowski hustling in from second base. And another Cardinal run.
This is how the Cardinals are going to have to play, in my opinion, a lot of these games, where they make teams pay after an error. So
yes.
with, Dylan Carlson, because you don't know about the offense. We just don't know how it's all going to come together. They're going to pitch well, you would assume. And it's things like that. Scoring with Carlson hustling from second on the air. Seeing then on that throw going to second base. Now comes around with a 2-out base hit. Runner advancing to third on that hit. Things like that. As Molina taps it foul.
I think it's fair to say, and I think it's always been true in baseball, and that if you pitch well, you're in every game. You could hit well and not be in the game. That happens. We see games like that, 11-8. You'd say, well, the offense did what they're supposed to do, and you lost. But if you pitch well, you're in it, or maybe you lose worse than that. I mean, pitching to me is still king. And if you've got a good staff, and the Cardinals have that and expect to have that, the offense is going to have to do just enough to get more than the other guy.
Strikeout of Yadier Molina. Tommy Edman, a 2-out single and his first RBI of spring. Those guys working hard and working quickly and efficiently in our television mobile unit.
Talk about speeding up the game.
I mean, Rob Manfred would love that. That's right up his alley, isn't it? The commissioner, he wants to see quicker pace.
I'm not particularly worried about that. I want to just see good baseball.
I'm with you on that. Adam Eaton, top of the lineup, second inning of work for Ryan Helsley. Eaton is 0 for 2 with a pair of strikeouts. Cardinals had 3 innings from Carlos Martinez. Walked 3, struck out 4. Tyler Webb in an inning, gave up 1 hit. It was sun-aided as it dropped in front of Rangel Rebello. And now the second inning of work for Ryan Helsley. He had a pair of groundouts and a lineout back in the 5th.
Our last pitch is one of those pitches that we've come to see more and more. The 90-mile-an-hour changeup after the 98-mile-an-hour fastball. Painful to say that.
How hard did you throw, topping out?
Well, I've got friends listening and watching, so I better be careful.
Be honest.
I would say with a good wind behind me, I could get to 87.
Gotcha.
Max. That's max.
But
that's
you had
max.
a slider.
But I pitched better at 85.
Yeah, and you had movement.
Slider, changeup.
Yep. Getting people out.
And some guys that could catch it.
Pretty good defense behind you.
I would say so.
3-1.
Told you the story of Dave Parker when he had a
Cobra
ball. I threw him a pitch down and in, and this isn't a big league game. He's running down to first base. I'm running to cover, and he's screaming at me, "Stop throwing me changeups! Stop throwing me changeups!" I'm running to cover the bag. We get there about the same time. I catch the ball, step on the bag. He's out, and I said, "Dave, that was a fastball." Dave Parker, what a player he was.
Oh, could he hit. And he was a guy that played with flair, intimidation in a way. And he might be one of those that gets into the Hall of Fame too, that is very, very close.
Great player for his era.
He is dealing with Parkinson's disease now. He was a Cardinal hitting coach at one point.
Yes, he was.
There's a 0-1 pitch to Brandon Snyder. In for Ryan Zimmerman now. Cardinals have Max Schrock at second base. Colton Wong, after being hit by a pitch, lifted. And if you're just joining us, not so, something serious, just taken out of the game. And it's 1-2.
Pitchers are going a little longer in games, and so are players. We saw them maybe play 3 innings, 2 innings max, 1 at bat in the early going, but they're starting to stretch it out a little bit.
As they say, never trust or believe what you see in spring and in September. And there's a lot of truth to that, isn't there?
Fool's gold.
Yeah. But you have players trying to make an impression.
Right.
And that does stick with you.
I mean, you'd rather make a good impression than a bad one. Yes. Especially if you're on the edge, on the fringe. But because somebody hits 350 in spring training doesn't mean they're going to hit 350 during the year.
2-2 pitch, and it swung on and missed. 96 on the gun from Ryan Helsley.
Some players are notoriously slow starters, too. Seems to me, I remember that about Berkman as a something he would say. Goldschmidt, just guys that just took a while to get their timing and had to wait for the light to come on. Or as Lou Brock loves to say, the stars will come out at night.
I love Lou.
I do too.
Here's Juan Soto.
He says that with such a little impish little grin.
That's the best part about it.
The stars come out at night.
That's right. Yeah, you saw Keith Hernandez on the ballot, and I talked to him at length the other day. And I said, as you reflect on your Cardinal career, what comes to mind? And he said, there's so many things. He said, this time of year, I think about George Kissel because he meant so much to my career and my life. As Keith said, there was something to the Cardinal way. You know, there really was something about that. And he said, I love the Cardinal uniform. He said, I think it's the best in sports. And he said, the other thing I think about always when I think of my time in St. Louis, always the great Lou Brock. He said, Lou is just a beautiful man. You know, saw him at the tail end of his career and played with him. And he said, as Soto hits it out to deep left, and this ball is caught by Ravello. What a catch. Rangel Ravello in left as he robs Soto. Wow, what a play.
Wow,
and he's shook up. He's still down on one knee, but an incredible catch. Ravello in left field.
Well, if you're talking about degree of difficulty of the balls that have been hit to Ravello, this one takes the cake here. Ball dropped earlier. He couldn't see it, the sun, and he made a really nice play an inning later. And now this one right up against the wall. I wasn't sure if it hit the wall first or not, but he caught it. Outstanding play.
Limping, and then had the presence of mind to quickly get it back in with the runner at first base. And Eaton was not tagging up. You know, he's thinking that ball hits the wall, I got a chance to score.
Yeah, he's got to be on second because if he doesn't catch it, which was very likely, then you do score. And then the announcer jinx thing kicks in.
Kurt Suzuki now with 2 outs.
I did say the Cardinals have a shutout going, right?
That's correct. Well, do you want them to lose the shutout? Is that what you're saying?
No,
here, or what?
I am testing I'm just testing in a more controlled environment, a little less hostile environment. Spring training game.
I get it.
The idea that the announcer's jinx does not really work. I think Tim McCarver would be all for this because you know he doesn't believe in it.
I mean, how many times do we have to do this? Ricky.
I'm with you, Tim.
We just talk.
I'm with you, Tim.
It's Tim McCarver from his home in Sarasota.
Nice of him to chime in.
We got him, man. We got satellite. You know, it's no big deal. Spare no expense.
My comment on it is if I had the power to influence a baseball game, if I had that kind of power, I'd use my power for something a little more important.
To finish a thought, by the way, on Hernandez, he said also about Tim McCarver, he said, I love being around Tim McCarver, you know, and Tim then was the broadcaster of the Mets for so many years, especially in the heyday of those fun teams in the 80s.
I think it's important for us to throw these things out so that Cardinal fans, as if they know this, but just to maybe make a point of it, this means a lot
Oh,
to
man.
players that are selected. I know it did for Isringhausen as an example, but John Tudor, right, was with him this winter, and he was asked, you know, what do you think about most as a Cardinal? And the thing that popped in his mind, this is what he said. Well, the thing I think about most as a Cardinal is I didn't win Game 7. I lost. It was my fault. And I'm like, and in my mind, I'm thinking, as good as he was for as long as he was
The historic
top
stretch
pitcher,
that he had in 85.
I mean, it would mean, in my view, the world to him if he was a Cardinal Hall of Famer.
Sure.
And put him where he really should be in terms of his kind of what he remembers most as a Cardinal. I want him to say, I remember giving my speech in front of the Hall of Famers at Ballpark Village. That's what I want him to say.
I said to Keith, what would it mean to you? And he said, oh, I mean, he stopped and he said, it would mean everything. He said, my mom and dad are no longer here. My brother is. We grew up huge Cardinal fans. And then, you know, my professional life, born and bred with the St. Louis Cardinals. It would mean everything.
And in fairness, you know, you can say a similar story about Tom Herr and
Yes.
Edgar Renteria and Steve Carlton and Lee Smith and who am I missing? Matt Morris.
Yep. Matty Moe, looking at it, I love diving into the numbers, but he had a great run of 100-plus wins and was dominant for a while.
As a young pitcher, I thought he would be up among Jess Haynes, Bob Gibson, Bob Forsch as the greatest Cardinal pitchers, which I think Wainwright's now in that territory.
Absolutely.
He's had that kind of career, but I think that was the trajectory of the career of Matt Morris before injuries.
Agreed. 3-2 pitch to Kurt Suzuki. And he doesn't get the call. You know who I think would have been like that or like a Matty Moe type is Alan Bennis.
Yeah, another good example.
Yeah. So the walk for Suzuki, pinch runner coming in for him. That's Emilio Bonifacio now, the runner at first base. And here is Hernandez. He is 0 for 2. MLB.TV, wherever you may be. Check us out. All the scores, the stats, the highlights. News and more on the game of baseball, the game we love at MLB.TV. Great to have baseball back. So 2 outs, runners at first and second, and the 0-1. Popped up left side. Tommy Edman in foul territory, called off by DeYoung, who makes the catch. Nice play by the shortstop DeYoung. A fantastic play on this catch, thanks to Rangel Ravello. He robs Juan Soto. Great play, saved the run, picked up an out. It's 3-0. Incredible video from yesterday that we caught of Ricky paddleboarding. And
takes a lot of strength.
I was just amazed at your physical endurance.
Coordination, strength.
Yep. As DeYoung grounds it to third on the first pitch. You know, it was after your 18 holes of golf. I mean, you really put in a lot of work down here.
So I'm glad you brought up golf, and I know you're glad you brought up golf because you want me to say what I'm going to say here. Now, I learned.
Oh, you don't have to, but if you need to, go ahead.
When you first get into broadcasting, first 2 things they tell you is no one cares about your travel schedule, so don't talk about it.
True.
Number 2, nobody cares about your golf game.
True.
Don't talk about it. But I'm going to talk about it because you did something miraculous yesterday. I mean, miraculous.
I want to make sure this is on the record, duly noted, that I'm not the one bringing this up so that the person you're about to talk about doesn't get mad at me.
You didn't bring it up, but you led me to it.
I did. I led you to water. Now you're drinking it.
Yes, and we had the opportunity to play yesterday. Cardinals were away, so we had a chance to play with Tom Lawless, who is going to be managing right across the way in the minor leagues with the Marlins. He'll be managing in Iowa. And he's such a good baseball guy. And at the end of the day, Tom Lawless had to go into his wallet for the first time in his life to give you some money because you played better than he did, and not score-wise.
Friendly wager.
Not score-wise, friendly wager, right. But I don't recall in all the years I've known Tom Lawless that he's ever had to actually do that. So I'm impressed, Danny. You played very well yesterday.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Well, when you have a 30 handicap against a scratch, that's how it works.
Something to do with it, right.
Oh, that was fun. Here's Matt Wieters. I found our conversation with Tom enlightening in the fact of what he does in the minor leagues with the Marlins.
And actually that's the best part of our being with him for 4 hours was just the time talking baseball. And he is such a great baseball man. Of course, the former manager of the Houston Astros, interim manager. And just talking about the fourth minor league coach that they're employing in the minor leagues and what that's like, and really his theory of managing. All the analytics, he says, the analytics are good. I don't deal with them because I trust my pitching coach and my hitting coach to do so. Well, I think it's a great comment on leadership.
I said, what did they tell you how to manage? Did they want you to do certain things? He said, nope, I just managed to what they give me. So one year we had speedsters. We ran all over the place.
He did say there was one time they were concerned about an injury to George Springer, who was a young player that he had. He had Altuve, too, but he had Springer. And Springer came to him and said, I can play. I want to play. And he said, you're not playing. They're telling me you're not playing. You're not playing.
That's right.
You'll get your chance to play. And wisdom proved right in the end in that situation.
Here's a 2-2, and it's pulled foul. I said, well, you play with Tom Lawless, you're playing with the original bat flip, not the stuff we got going now. I mean, he had the really good one.
Yeah, he did it before it was in vogue, and he did it in the World Series off of Frank Viola. 1987. Makes Batista's bat flip just seem like child's play.
Nothing. I like what Tom said, though. He said, it's still, at the end of the day, baseball. And I learned so much from Whitey and being a bench guy and viewing how he managed the game. The strikeout of Wieters. We step aside. Cardinals on top. 7th inning rolls in when we come back. Jake Woodford is into the ballgame for the Cardinals. Could see him at some point. Some of the pitching depth that the Cardinals have in the minor leagues. Jake coming off a really good season at AAA.
He's only 23 years old. He's from St. Petersburg, Florida, the old spring training home of the St. Louis Cardinals. First round pick in 2015, and he's one of those guys where they kind of pushed him ahead a little bit because they just thought his stuff was good enough he could handle it. And he got to AAA actually in 2018, had 12 starts that year, and in 2019 he had 26 starts for the Memphis Redbirds and had the lowest batting average against, 223, of any pitcher in the league. That means a lot of swing and miss stuff, a lot of weak contact, and he's a guy we'll see at some point.
Look at the ERA, Ricky, and tell me that the PCL is not a hitter's league.
4.15. It is.
It was one of the best ERAs in that league.
Right. 151 innings, only 124 hits allowed. Now, I did have 75 walks to lead the league, but, that's the other thing about pitching in that league, because there are a lot of short fences where the ball carries, high altitude places. You get a little defensive.
And the 2-0 pitch.
It's a good way to learn how to pitch in Colorado.
3-0 the count. And the top 10 Cardinal prospects according to MLB.com. And there they are, some we have seen in the big leagues.
Boy, this has been a small strike zone, hasn't it? Where is that?
3 of the 4 look like strikes at least. There's Carlson, Nolan Gorman. By the way, Nolan Gorman is impressed in this game.
Yes, he has.
Very much so. That strike zone shrunk there in that at bat.
It's been fairly tight all game, but the players have been pretty aggressive, putting the ball in play. Interesting. Dave Martinez has a mantra that he's trying to preach to his pitchers, is to try to get somebody out in 4 pitches. The starters all do that as big 4. They're really good 4 starters they have, and Sanchez and Scherzer and Strasburg and Corbin. Those guys, their theory is, even though they get a lot of strikeouts, I want to try to get a guy out in 4 pitches because I want to get deep in the game. And he believes that his relievers have to do that more.
It's hammered in the gap in right center. And this ball is gone. It's a home run for Luis Garcia. So a 2-run homer, and that gets the Nationals on the board.
Center cut. Boy, he timed that up right. It's also something that tends to happen after a pitcher misses the zone quite a few times.
Just thinking that. Yep.
You end up saying, well, here's a pitch. Go ahead and hit it. Martinez went on to say in that article on the MLB app about his relievers needing to throw strikes more. They did not throw strikes as a team collectively in the bullpen. And Sam Freeman apparently this week gave up a line drive on a 3-2 pitch right at somebody, and he went up to him and said, what were you doing on that pitch? He said, I was letting him hit it. I was trying to put the ball in play. And he said, right answer.
Good for him.
That's what he wants guys to do. He's just tired of seeing bullpen walks. Boy, they're killers, aren't they?
Yeah.
Walks after the 7th.
I think when you look at Jack Flaherty in the second half that he had, look at how he not only commanded the strike zone, and that's well hit too, and that's into deep center field, and extra bases for Jake Knoll. But to the point of being aggressive early in counts and getting quick outs. And he was going deep, remember, Ricky, in games, and he was so efficient.
Right.
And that pitch was up in the zone and hammered.
You mentioned that pitch up in the zone. They're having a little conversation now just to kind of regroup with Jake Woodford and let him know he's not alone right now, which is important for a pitcher to realize that. I find it interesting, Dan, with as many teams that are emphasizing pitching up in the zone now, with the guys throwing 98, 99. Here it is. Let's get it up in the zone, and let's combat the launch angle by throwing it by guys up in the zone. The Cardinals have reinstituted kind of a very old school thing about using string at the bottom of the strike zone for pitchers when they throw their bullpens.
Saw that the other day.
So if you go on the backfields, and I often see you out there, and the mounds are on the way to the backfield. There's several mounds, and they've actually put up strings at the bottom part of the strike zone. And the idea is that if a pitcher's hit, they want pitchers to realize where that is, because that's the intended target. So it'll actually clip the string a little bit, and then the catcher will catch it. He doesn't bother him, almost like a little foul tip. But it's just training the eye to say that's the perfect pitch at the knees, which is kind of old school.
Infield drawn in, and that's Tommy Edman. So Williamson grounds out with the infield drawn in. And now Brandon Snyder. 3-2 our score.
Well, things were going along swimmingly until you kind of evoked the announcers.
Oh, you're going to put
jigs.
this on me.
Well, I think when you said it, it just changed the complexion of this game. You said it going to break at the end of the 6th inning.
Yeah, I know.
Shutout continues.
It's playing along with your childish behavior.
Well, we're a team. We'll go down. We'll go down as a team here.
I'm all about it. Brandon Snyder with the tying run at third base. Here's a 2-0 pitch from Jake Woodford, who was added to the Cardinals 40-man roster.
And he doesn't get that call, and the strike zone has shrunk on Jake Woodford.
I believe that is a strike.
Yeah.
Of course, with a curveball, it's not where you catch it, is where is it over the front part of the plate. You mentioned Ted Simmons, our new Hall of Famer.
And a base hit into left field. The game is tied.
Ted said he's long believed that the curveball is the hardest pitch to call correctly because of the way it looks when a catcher's actually receiving.
Sure.
Too much of the plate. Again, maybe the smaller zone has got him to get the ball up a little bit too much
coming,
in the middle of the plate.
I mean, he's got to groove it. These guys don't miss. Talked to Jake about Jason Isringhausen and his role in Jake's career. He's been instrumental in helping out young pitchers, and Jake said he has been huge for both the mental side and also the physical aspect of this game.
Isn't it fun to watch Izzy really grow into that role as a teacher and a mentor of young pitchers? And you know, I wasn't sure, you know, when a guy retires, you wonder, well, are they going to just go off into the sunset, or are they going to want to stay in the game? And I wasn't sure with Izzy, but he just really seems to love what he does.
Here's Barrera. People ask me all the time about opening day, what do you love to see? And it's Clydesdales and Hall of Famers, the crowd. I mean, everything that's about it in St. Louis. But I'm looking forward to seeing Izzy walk out there with a red jacket. That's very meaningful to him, and I find that awesome.
He's going to get the goosebumps, isn't he?
Oh yeah, and I will too. 2-1 the count. Game now tied at 3-3. If it stays tied after 9, the teams can either just say we've had enough and we move on, or they will start with a runner at second base, which is something that is done in the minor leagues. Good block to keep that in front.
The reason it's done in the minor leagues is not anywhere close to the reason that it's being done in spring training, because that reason doesn't make any sense. You do it in the minor leagues so you avoid playing 14 or 15 innings to save your bullpen pitchers, your young pitchers you're trying to develop, and not hurt them. And that makes sense to me. To do it in spring training does not.
And a strike now, 3-2.
I think it's just trying to get us used to it. And
you think it's coming?
I think the idea is gaining steam, and it's going to take me a long time to get used to it.
I would agree.
I'm going to say never.
I think personally some of the extra inning games that are going on and on are entertaining.
Of course they are.
They're fun. Runner goes and slowly hit to first. Nagowski will flip to Woodford, who's at the bag. Game tied 3-3. And it's time to stretch. Break. Mike Schilt went out and had a visit with our home plate umpire. It's sure not to get in an argument, but it is to talk about the strike zone, I would think.
Well, I think he's either talking about the strike zone and just clarifying whether or not he thought he missed some of those pitches that inning for Jake Woodford. And my other thought is maybe he's inviting the umpires to come to his wedding next week.
Could be.
And he's just wanted to have a nice friendly chat about that. And it's the 6th of March. Mike will be married, and Cardinal off day that day, and maybe he needs an umpire there. You know, if you don't get the vows right, you might need a review. Just saying. You know, did you really say that right? Let's see. Let's check.
Yep. Go back to the video room.
Just a thought.
There's so many things I could say right now, and it's probably best we just move on with Dylan Carlson at the plate.
That's usually true with you, Danny.
That's true.
Don't act like that's a novel
My mind races a little bit.
Yes,
Ricky.
Yes, it does.
There's a lot of things going on up there.
Yeah, there is.
Here's a 1-1, and Carlson lifts it in the air, tailing down the line, and it's another hit for Dylan Carlson. Can't get him out. And he'll stop at second base, so Dylan on base for the 3rd time. That's 8 consecutive plate appearances and counting now that he has reached base.
How about that short swing? Really short swing. And taking it the other way, and that's where the power is today with the wind blowing out to right field, and he just hit it in the right spot again. He's just finding ways to get hits.
Yep. Don't count him out.
I'm not.
He may force his way onto this team.
And as I mentioned, if that's true, he's forcing his way into the starting lineup.
That's right. As Ravello hits it down the right field line and out of play.
When a 28 to 30-year-old journeyman minor leaguer makes a team, doesn't have to necessarily be a starter, whether you're a bullpen guy or an extra player. But if you're as young as Dylan Carlson is and you make the team in the big leagues, you better be playing.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, if you bring an umpire to a wedding, I mean.
Here we go again.
No, I'm just thinking about it.
I thought we were done with that.
Go ahead. It's going to prove to you that you're arguing with more than just umpires, because you're going to get in a lot of arguments after that wedding.
I see what you're saying.
It's just you're spreading it out.
Okay. That's a good thought, Dan.
Here's the 0-2. Now that doesn't happen in my house. I mean, it's been wedded bliss, but for you and Ann, I know it's rocky, man. I mean, what else can I say? You're a tough guy.
Oh my goodness. Remember that thought a couple of minutes ago where you said that you got a lot of things you're not going to say?
Well,
you should have stayed there.
I'm just going down different roads now.
Okay.
I'm kidding, Ricky.
I know that.
By the way, I think this home plate umpire is the umpire that threw out Aaron Boone of the Yankees, and then the Cardinals had him, and there were issues in the ball game with him. Regular season last year. And the microphones on the field could pick up the words of Aaron Boone trying to protect his players. Hit on the ground to short. Carlson stays put. So this is the type of at-bat that we were mentioning before, and how you're trying to generate a run, and he's got to hit that ball to the right side.
And he tried the first 2 pitches. He was going the other way, and I think that's a case of a pitcher. In this case, it's the lefty Bramer that wasn't going to let him do it. And just by the way he worked him when he got ahead of him, had him rake the ball to the left side of the infield. But I know at least the first 2 strikes he was looking to the right side.
And a strike to Nagowski. Cardinals are letting him get a lot of playing time here early on. Reached on an error and scored back in the 5th. Grounded back to the pitcher. And the 0-1. Taken high. Cardinals had 3 scoreless innings from Carlos Martinez. Scoreless inning by Webb. Scoreless 2 innings from Ryan Helsley. I think the thing that has stood out about Nagowski, and we had heard it, but his glove.
Right.
Very good glove. Jobel Jimenez, the assistant hitting coach now, was at Memphis and had Nagowski, and he said there may not have been a better hitter in understanding the strike zone. Really good understanding of the zone. And John was telling me it's about having a game plan once you go in the box, having an understanding of what the pitcher's trying to do to you, what you're trying to do to him. He said Jobel was the one that really helped him get in that frame of mind.
Well-respected coach. There's no question about that. Nagowski, one of the, few players. You can't think of too many that throw left and bat right.
Not many at all. And there it is. There's your walk. Theme tickets on sale now and feature new themes, returning favorites, including John Daly Night, Friends Night, Star Wars Night, Margaritaville Night, Grateful Dead Night, and many more. Details and a full list of dates, visit cardinals.com/theme. Here's Max Schrock. 214 the average. This far in spring, runners at first and second with one out. And Schrock hits it under the glove of the first baseman, and a run will score. That's Dylan Carlson. Nagowski to third, and the Cardinals go back on top on a hard hit ball off the bat of Max Schrock.
Well, it should be scored an error, but it was hit well by Schrock. So he did his part to at least hit the ball hard and ends up being a part of the Cardinals scoring the go-ahead run. There's the swing. And not much time to react for the first baseman. Boom, boom, there it is under his glove and into right field. And Carlson, who had the leadoff double, scores, and he's doing a little bit of everything, isn't he?
He really is. Second run scored on base, 8 consecutive plate appearances, a walk and a double, and a single today. And now Tommy Edman.
They scored that a hit?
Yes, it is.
Huh.
Should have been their second error. But you know those scores, they're the best in baseball, led by Chris Tuno.
I'm okay with that being a hit, and so is the entire Schrock family.
You got it. I'm sure after a long deliberation, a lot of arguments going on in the press box.
I think the Snyder family, wherever they may be on the Washington side, they're pretty happy too.
Yeah. A strike to Edman.
Now the pitcher's family,
they ain't happy.
No. No, no, no.
Nothing in 2 the count.
Pitcher's family, Dan, learned very early the difference between an earned and an unearned run.
One out, runners at the corners. Pitch taken high. I was talking with Mike Schilt about bunting, and now it's 2 strikes on Edman, but specifically bunting with a runner at third. Safety squeeze straight up, whatever. And he said, we just have certain guys that if it's not in their skill set, I'm not forcing the issue.
And another way of saying that is we have some guys that aren't very good at bunting. I said that a little harsher, didn't I?
Yeah. And time called. But again, it's a way to manufacture a run. And the 1-2 pitch, 2-2, nearly to the backstop. Beautiful day here at Roger Dean Stadium. Breezy, warm, big crowd, sold out.
Really perfect temperature to watch a baseball game, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Little floater into center, that will drop. Tommy Edman, his second hit and his second run driven in, and the Cardinals add to their lead. It's now a 5-3 game.
Well, the Cardinals have had a few of these today. You've got to admit it, just kind of little flares, and they all count. But the Nationals have done more to shoot themselves in the foot with a couple of miscues defensively. Led to a lot of these runs.
Here is Andrew Kisner. His numbers from a season ago in the big leagues. Had really big year in AAA. A converted catcher. Kisner hits it high in the air. Out to left field. Schrock, your runner at third. The catch is made. He will score. And the Cardinals have regained their 3-run lead in this ball game.
You know, I've noticed, Dan, there have been a lot of outfielders hesitant to even try to make throws, and I wonder. I
saw
wonder
that with Justin Williams the other day.
Yeah, I wonder if some of the outfielders aren't quite ready to let it go yet in terms of their arm strength. You know, everybody, it's spring training for everybody, and you know, the pitchers are getting their arms in shape, and an outfielder doesn't get a lot of throws, and maybe I wonder if there's just some tentative nature there. The Nationals had one of their best players, Victor Robles, in that situation. Within the last week, he started to make a throw and then stopped, and then brought it back and then just lobbed it in, and they haven't seen him play since then. And there's questions about whether or not he might have strained something, and I don't think there's panic going on, but he's a big-time player too for the Nats and part of their lineup.
And sometimes you would think these young guys, even if it's like a 60-40, say don't throw, but they're going to let it air it out.
Right. Ground ball to the left side. Munoz, who's had a good spring, bounces into a force out, but the Cardinals do some damage. A 3-run 7th inning. Dylan Carlson again right in the middle of it.
Well, we saw going to break that Jairo Munoz, something happened with him. Take a look going down that first base line. Not good.
He comes off the bench to hit, and he's running full speed to try to beat this out, and comes up lame, and you know, we can only speculate what that might be, but certainly enough to take him out of the game as he can't play, and just hope that that's not a major thing for Jairo Munoz. As I mentioned, Dan, he'd been having a good spring.
Emilio Bonifacio bounces to first, and that's the first out here in the 8th. Second inning of work for Jake Woodford.
Boy, I'd like to have him have a nice, quick, little 1-2-3 inning with no problems after struggling last inning. And again, a small strike zone for him last inning, and then he just made some pitches right down central and got hurt.
Yadiel Hernandez. So 1 out and nobody on is Jake Woodford now in his second inning. Reminder, there's a lot of reasons to catch a game and even more reasons to score your tickets at StubHub. Best selection of 100% MLB verified tickets available even after the first pitch. Official partner of the Cardinals. One ball and one strike.
Really nice changeup from Woodford at 86 miles an hour. He sold that well. It looked like a fastball out of his hand, and it had good downward break to it.
And the next by Jake Woodford. He's got pretty good stuff, Ricky.
Yeah, he does.
And that's why, you know, I'm sure the Cardinals and their coaching staff will take last inning with a grain of salt and say, look, you're getting squeezed. We understand it. It happens. Move on. And then you find out about him, too, bouncing back.
Yeah, if it was his first big league spring training, I'd be a little more worried about it. Just making sure that his psyche could handle that. But he's been around a little bit.
And picks up a strikeout.
Finishes him off with the curveball down and away. Good downward 12-6 action.
Cardinals will start Austin Gomber tomorrow against the Astros. West Palm Beach. Gomber's second start of the spring. Also scheduled to throw John Gant, Junior Fernandez, and Cody Whitley as we see the Houston Astros.
That's going to be fun.
Yes.
And we will have front row seats, won't we?
You got it. We've got this ball game tomorrow, Monday and Tuesday, all on Fox Sports Midwest. 4 in a row. High fly ball out to left. And the catch is made. Ball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Budweiser. Wherever legendary MLB moments happen, Budweiser will be there. And by Hyundai. Visit your local St. Louis Hyundai dealer and test drive a Hyundai today. A reminder, it's our Budweiser What's on Tap. The Cardinals and the Astros as will come your way at noon. The Budweiser What's on Tap. Kyle McGowan, his numbers from a season ago. I am, and I mean this sincerely, I am fascinated to see and hear what kind of response the fans will give the Astros. And my question to you as a former player, I mean, you dealt with hostile crowds. You're at Shea Stadium in New York and the great,
Philadelphia
rivalry and things of that nature. San Francisco can be pretty tough.
As a Dodger,
that could be really tough.
That's the worst.
But this is different. That's rivalry. This is about the cheating scandal.
Yeah, this is a little more personal, I would say. I mean, if you're talking about a rivalry, you're talking about, well, I like my team and you're not on my team. So at the end of it, doesn't really hurt your feelings. That's the way it is. And it's just kind of how, you're not expected to turn San Francisco fans into Dodger fans. You just don't think that's reasonable. But in this case, you're talking about players that feel they just don't feel comfortable with, and they shouldn't feel comfortable with what happened with the cheating scandal. And so, how you deal with that every single day, I mean, it's
going to wear you out.
It's going to wear him out. There's no question.
This is Lane Thomas at the plate. Well, it's not only trying to literally block out the noise, but then there's your peers that are in uniform and going against you, and some of them aren't happy one bit.
Yeah, so I think baseball
has got to be uncomfortable at bats.
Baseball has, you might say, evolved or devolved, depending upon how you feel about it, into a game where everybody hugs each other, and we're all kind of have the same agents, and they just play against each other. And now that's an overstatement, but there's more of that than there was, say, 40 years ago for sure, or 50 years ago, Bob Gibson's era of playing. And so now we're starting to see a little bit of this, I'm not too happy with the guy on the other team, and it feels a little more, I'm not going to say competitive, but it feels a little more edgy, and I don't know that that's a bad thing for the game.
I agree.
But, I do certainly feel for what some of the Astros are going to be dealing with, and think about the number of Astros that weren't there, Dan, in 2017. How much a roster turns over? I mean, there's a few players that are certainly going to be targeted, but several of that roster are no longer there.
I'll give you one that I will be watching, and I think the buildup of it will be fascinating. What happens the first time the Houston Astros return to the Bronx? Can you imagine that? That is well hit into left center and drops in.
That's Jose Godoy, the catcher.
Yep. But, I mean, imagine that. Yankee Stadium, after what took place, the walk-off off of Aroldis Chapman, they take away a chance to go to the World Series. Those fans are nuts anyway, in a good way.
I think the fans in L.A. might even put down their glass of wine and boo.
That's the wine and cheese crowd there.
Yeah. Now, wait, I can say that because that's family. I was part of that experience there.
You got a ring.
Well, I mean, but it is a different crowd for sure. But they certainly love their Dodgers.
Absolutely.
And they're not happy about it either.
So Godoy, the runner at second base, and now again Dylan Carlson. And he looks at a strike. Budweiser player of the game, Dylan Carlson, 2 for 2. Little bloop single. Double down the right field line. A walk. And he's reached base in 8 consecutive plate appearances. Trying to make it 9 here. 0-2.
There's a pitch he thought he could hammer. It was up in the zone, and he was very conscious of that wind blowing out and right with that swing.
And the 0-2 pitch to Carlson. Fouled back. The wind blowing out to right field. Much of this big crowd still here. Late stages of this spring training game.
I'm just hopeful that the injury to Jairo Munoz is not
serious.
A serious one for him. Not serious, or at least a lengthy one.
And a strikeout of Carlson. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the St. Louis Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. Here's Austin Dean. Home run the other day. Cardinals have had 9 different players hit a home run this spring.
I don't want to pile on you, Danny.
Yeah.
But with our theme for this game of announcer's curse, you just mentioned that Dylan Carlson was our Budweiser player of the game. And he had been on base 7 straight times. And you know, maybe seconds after you got it out of your mouth, he struck out.
And I'm going to agree with you to an extent. Here's the
That's how
pitch.
you normally agree with me, to an extent.
So I'm just, you know, a guy that comes up here and they tell me what I have to read.
Okay.
So I read the Budweiser player of the game. And when they say, Dan, it's time to do it, I do it. So I'll put this one on Alan Stout, our producer, and also Tom Mead, the director, for allowing that.
We'll blame it on the truck. I feel better about that.
I feel great about it.
I'm with you. Let's see. You guys have any objections? No, they didn't say anything.
I didn't hear anything. I know the fans didn't.
Got him right where we want him.
Hey, Stouty, never forget, we got the last word up here. 2-1 the count on Austin Dean. And it's now 2-2 as that drops in for a strike. Nagowski on deck if Dean can extend the inning. I'm not real happy though with you trying to set me up with that, Ricky. So I'm gonna say I'm not happy with you, Stouty, or Tommy.
It's okay.
You're just leading us down a bad path.
Mm-hmm.
And the 3-2, you know, to the point that I think I'm just done right now.
You're just going to leave? Okay. Danny, okay, see. We did it. We did it. Danny's gone. Oh, we found a way to get rid of him. This is awesome. 6-3 Cardinals. All you got to do is shoot him from center field. Wait a minute. Pardon me while I go lock the door. Next delivery, swung out and missed. Dean strikes out. Danny Mack leaves the booth. We're all happy. 6-3 Cardinals. Off to the ninth.
Bush is with a group of your friends and family. Group tickets on sale now, and groups of 20 or more receive great incentives, including a discount of up to 50% off the gate price in most seating areas. For more details, visit cardinals.com/groups. 345-9000. And Ricky, I just can't quit you.
Well,
I'm back.
You need to know. I mean, when you left, I mean, you need to know how much I was talking about how much I missed you and wanted you back. And so, you know, as far as you know, that's how I ended the last
As far
inning.
as I know.
And it is good to have you back, Danny, and good to be back doing Cardinal baseball again with you.
It's awesome. Now, can I admit something? I may or may not have mixed in a restroom break.
Okay.
So it was just perfect timing, really.
Yeah.
You know, I'm trying to get in a mid-season form, you know.
Well, it's spring training, right?
That's right. And
it's what I say. It's about timing and pacing and all of that.
Best shape of our lives.
And you just got to have the right pacing as a player and as a broadcaster.
Pacing. A feel for it. Giovanni Gallegos could be your closer this year. And that list of guys in the bullpen, what a year he is coming off of. He was terrific.
Yeah, no, he had a terrific season, especially, you know, at the beginning. His strikeouts per 9, 14.1 through his first 20 appearances. settle into 10.1. Still pretty good.
Check swing, and he went. There's a strikeout. Thank you very much. And with the 3-batter minimum, those that have good splits become very valuable out of a bullpen.
No
That's
question.
What Gallegos has.
Well, you can say that about the Cardinal lefties too, and that's a good thing with this new rule. I just don't think it's a terrible thing necessarily for Andrew Miller or Tyler Webb either.
Jake Knoll at the plate. He doubled his last time up. Giovanni Gallegos, part of the Luke Voigt deal. Good luck to Luke this year. Wearing pinstripes. I bet he'll find a way to be checking out Blues hockey on Fox Sports Midwest later tonight.
You bet. Oh, my.
It's the Blues and the Dallas Stars later tonight. Up the middle and a base hit. You know, Ricky, go back again with Woodford and now with Giovanni Gallegos. In my mind, there's been strike call after strike call missed, and now 2-0. He's got to groove it.
And I think what we've seen several times is a pitch following a pitch that doesn't go your way that ends up getting hit. And you end up throwing more to the middle of the plate. You don't get it down quite as much, and it's much more hittable.
So 1 out and a runner at first base. Ground ball double play, and we are off to watch Blues hockey. There's a strike. He's got that good downward action too.
He sure does. And he's got an idea. He knows how to pitch. Uses his off-speed pitch well. He calls his breaking pitch a slider, but looks more like a curve. Acts more like a curve.
Here's the 0-1.
You think of sliders as having a little bit more right to left movement and less straight down, but he gets on top of it so much. There's the power delivery. Got a good strong fastball too. He uses his height well, throwing downhill as you mentioned.
Good stuff. Here's a 1-1 pitch by Gallegos. That's hit out of play. Gallegos made that appearance in Mexico, and I thought, well, that's a nice story. You know, he's from this area, and here we are playing in Mexico, Major League Baseball. Wonderful.
He had played in that ballpark, Estadio de Baseball.
Right. And you're thinking, there. Okay, that's great. Remember, he gave up a home run, and
right.
All right, that's a nice story. And then he became one of the top relievers in the game.
Right. Story got better.
Yes, it did.
Little twist and turn.
Mm-hmm. Here's a 1-2 pitch. J.B. Shuck. While the Cardinals have maybe some questions going offensively, you know, their strength is their pitching and defense. This pitching is going to be good.
Well, you get 6 runs a game, you're going to win some games.
Yep.
Now, the Nationals have given a couple of those runs today. One on an error, another on a ball that could have been an error.
Little check swing. Nagowski will go to second, and a pick there and a force play. Well done all the way around. Tommy Edman there hanging on the bag.
You know, I think that's a smart play by Nagowski. You talked about him being a good defender, and you say, well, why not just get an out at first base? In my mind, with a left-handed fielding first baseman, that was the easiest out, because he's going in that direction, and he's got his arm in a position where it's easier to throw. Just let it go in time in the dirt, but gets the job done. If he's got to turn and throw to the guy who's running in the opposite direction of him, that's an accident waiting to happen.
Agreed.
I can always count on you
Oh,
to
my
agree with me at least once during a broadcast.
It happens more than you think. Actually, it happens a lot. I just don't like to admit it.
Well, we have plenty of baseball ahead, Dan, in 2020, and I am looking forward to every inning.
Me too. Fielder's indifference. Runner at second now. 1 ball, 1 strike. Opening day, March 26th, from the Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati. Cardinals will help open up the new ballpark in Texas exhibition game after we break camp here. And then we have the season opener against, who do you think? Sonny Gray, Trevor Bauer, Steele. Ooh, that's a nasty pitch. Here's a 1-2 pitch in the dirt.
I think the best thing, Dan, that I saw here this afternoon, and there's a lot of good positive things that I've seen, is I just like the start of Carlos Martinez. Despite walking a few batters, he ended up walking 3 in 3 innings, didn't allow a hit, and really had that Carlos Martinez swagger by the time his outing was over.
The 2-2 in the air, left field, and caught. Cardinals win it by the final of 6-3.
Can also add that Ryan Helsley had a nice outing, 2 scoreless innings himself, and the Cardinals take advantage of a couple of errors and pick up a victory against the defending World Series champions.
6-3 the final. We'll be back to wrap it up in just a moment.